Hello and welcome to the Arena Sports Show. I go by the name of Clauiee Mpanza, and we're excited, of course, to bring to you yet another exciting episode. A lot has been happening in the world of sports. Today, it's a different episode. Our favorite influencer, MAHLATSE MPHAHLELE, is not with us, as we've sent him, of course, to Côte d'Ivoire, hoping he would bring some good luck, but it went the other side. We'll get to unpack that a little bit later. Joining me today on the show, we've got football commentator Sizwe Mabena and the 2016-17 midfielder of the season, footballer, of course, Aubrey Ngoma, also alongside us. But before we find out how the gents are doing and get into the Afcon and what's been happening in the world of sport, let's find out what's been making headlines. Bafana Bafana versus Nigeria was a game that lived up to all the hype and build-up as supporters were on their toes until the very last minute. It was Nigeria that scored first in the 67th minute and went up 2-0 before the second goal was disallowed and a penalty was given to South Africa after an earlier foul on Percy Tau in the box. The game went on all the way to a penalty shootout where South Africa's hearts were broken. The Super Eagles fly on to the finals where they will go up against host Côte d'Ivoire. Our under-19 cricket boys put up a hard fight but also crashed out of their semi-final encounter against India at the under-19 ICC World Cup. Pretoria's and Richard Siletswana helped SA reach 244 for 7, but it was not enough as Sachin Das and captain Uday Saharan dug deep with a 171-run fifth wicket partnership of 197 balls to set their side on their way to the final. In a historic win, the Proteas women team beat Australia for the very first time as they levelled with the series ahead of the decider on Saturday. Marizanne Kapp starred with the bat and ball as she led the ladies to an 89-run win in the second ODI at the North Sydney Oval. Well, a lot's been happening, of course, in the world of sport. Hard luck to our boys in the Under-19 Cricket World Cup. We'll go better luck next time. But still to come on the show, we'll get to find out, of course, from the gentlemen, their stars of the week. That's a feature that we normally have. We'll switch it up a little bit today to find out, of course, from the gentlemen who has stood out in terms of the South African camp when you look into the Afcon performance and, of course, the technical staff that's been supporting Bafana Bafana. And then we'll also unpack what's to come, third place playoff for Bafana Bafana, and also looking into the final. And also exciting, we look into Cut Republic. They've launched their flagship store, very first of its kind here in Africa. So we'll get to unpack that, talk to some of the drivers who are part of that opening. But Sizwe Mabena, my regular, not my favorite today, but nonetheless, it's okay. How are you doing? Bafana Bafana have been knocked out. How are you dealing with the heartbreak?
They went further than I expected. So there's no way I can be sad about it. I'm happy that they got as far as they did. I really didn't think they'd get this far. The only issue I've got is whose idea was it to send MAHLATSE down to Côte d'Ivoire now? Because clearly he came with a bad luck. Outside of that, I think they did a great job. They adjusted well to the first defeat in the group stages. And those adjustments saw them last a long way.
Yeah.
Maybe the age-old South African problem of scoring is the issue in the long run. But I'm overjoyed with the way they did. They certainly surpassed all expectation from me.
Yeah, no, same. I think with Banyana, they did the same thing.
Same thing, yeah. You're the only person I know who might be slightly disappointed, actually, by the way.
I really am, because I thought we were going to go to the final. But anyway, Aubrey Ngoma, I mean, I know you follow the game very well. How has the Afcon been treating you? I mean, the late hours, we were arguing with Sizwe Mabena and MAHLATSE, saying that arguably it could be one of the best Afcon tournaments. I don't know, where do you rate it?
Definitely, I think it's one of the best we've seen in recent years. Considering, you know, we've never had a lot of 0-0 games. There were goals, and I think as fans, when you're watching, you want to see goals.
Yeah.
And also, I think Bafana kept it off to go all the way to the semi-final, which I don't think a lot of people in the country expected that. So I think it was a good Afcon all around.
So, indulge me a little bit. I want to find out, who did you think was going to go to the final? When the tournament started, who were you backing?
Of course, I think we were expecting teams like Morocco, Algeria, Senegal, and they got knocked out very early. So it was, I think, a tournament of underdogs.
It definitely was. So, I mean, Mabena, we've been talking about the gold, right? And I'm glad that Aubrey mentions it. Now, my last calculation when I did this was last night when the second semi-final played, that being Cote d'Ivoire and DRC, was sitting at 115 goals, that have been scored. So that shows that it has been entertaining. What does that then say about the level of football in the continent? I mean, I also saw at some point to a lot of people saying that, no, this thing of VAR is actually used properly. And we've seen that in the Afcon.
It's funny. I'm one of the biggest VAR critics there has been over the last few years. But at this Afcon, there's not one call where I'm criticizing VAR. And a few people have joked, to look out in Europe, they could maybe take an example from how our guys interpret VAR. Because VAR is about how the referee looks at it and interprets what he sees.
For sure.
And whether the masses agree with them or not. I think they've been on the money. It's been a great advert for VAR, this. Also, now when you talk goals, firstly, we're talking conditions and how hot it is out there. And we thought because of the conditions and how hot it is, maybe there'd be fewer goals, fewer action. But this Afcon has completely thrown that theory out the window. So many goals, so many late goals as well in games, which also tells you these guys are in superb shape. I think it goes to the physical conditioning of the footballer nowadays, whether it be here in Africa or in Europe, because there's so many players that are playing from Africa that says, look, scientifically we're moving in the right direction in that regard to be able to deal with the weather conditions to a point where even like Qatar, where it's supposedly hot at the World Cup, it's one of the best World Cups we've ever seen. So here we are with crazy conditions in Cote d'Ivoire and as far as the humidity and so on, but yet still, because of where we are scientifically in the development of the game, it's one of the best Afcons we've ever seen, if not the best, depending on who you talk to.
All right, so let's get to our stars of the week, right? So we are switching it up. I want to find out from you guys, when you look into the South African camp, I'll start with you here, Aubrey, because you're a guest, okay? I know I'm putting you under pressure, but when you look into the South African camp, who has stood out for you and who would you say was the star? I know there's a lot of stars, but if you had to pick one, who tickled your heart?
I think I'd go with Grant Kekana.
Sure.
You know, coming off after the first game when he didn't play, to step in and, you know, solidify our defense, to go on and keep so many clean sheets. I think he brought in stability, and I don't think he stepped any foot wrong since he's been brought in the team. And to cap it off, you know, I think he deserves a statue for what he's done last night. To take one for the team when we actually needed him to do so, to take it to the penalties, because I think that could have ended in extra time. But for him to get that tackle at that moment, you know, he was the last man. I think he took one for the team, and I know I salute him for that.
Yeah, everybody was happy. Like, oh my goodness, get it, Grant. We need this. What about you, Mabena?
I'm so tempted to say Uteboma win, but I won't because I want to go with Hugo Broos on this one. Firstly, he helped us qualify, something we aren't doing on a regular basis. Also, we got to the semi-finals. But we haven't gotten this since '98. So I think a lot of that credit must go to Hugo Broos. And now, it hasn't been easy getting us to qualify for this Afcon. But also, you speak of Kekana coming in, the adjustments after the first game. Those are the adjustments I speak of. Kekana coming in and Moren also coming into the changes he made, not too many of them. But after the first game, saw us go all this way. So a lot of it for me comes from Hugo Broos and his technical team. I'll give it to him, though, as my man of the moment from a South African point of view in Cote d'Ivoire.
Are you going to ask me, what about me?
I'm going to ask you,
I'm waiting for you to ask.
I was keeping you in suspense. Okay. But who is your player or coach or technical member of the tournament from a South African point of view?
So I was having this conversation with Aubrey, you know, a bit earlier on, and he's like, who are you going to pick? I'm like, I don't have one person, which I know is unfair because I just asked you guys to have one person. But I think for me, the different perspective would be the guys on the bench. I think for me, I loved how supportive that bench was, how they were so invested in the game and they were literally supporting. I mean, at some point you'll see Ugo's trying to give, you know, some of the players advice. You'd see Velumota also trying to, you know, inspire the boys, saying, come on guys, get your head in the game. You've seen Tabang Munara as well. So I think for me, the bench proved to be pivotal. Yes, as much as not everybody got a chance to play. Yes, but it brought everybody together, even when you're watching after the game. Dress room, everybody's dancing. Ronald would pull some of the players that were sitting. Hey, come, guys, join us, be a part of it. So I think for me, I'll definitely give it to the supporting players. Yes, we all want to play, Aubrey, you know this. Everybody wants to play, but to still put a smile and still celebrate the others, I think that's something to admire, right?
Definitely, because I just feel, man, when you're not playing, you need to give the others that are playing the support, because when you get on the field, you might need the same support. So it was good to see that the guys on the bench, even some that didn't get to kick a ball yet in the tournament, they were very supportive. When you score a goal, you see all of them running to the goal scorer. So that was good to see.
It definitely
I
was.
want to get you guys' thoughts on one thing. Going into this game, I didn't expect many goals against Nigeria. Nor did I expect them to score many goals against us. They haven't been scoring too many goals. So there's two sides for me that have struggled from a goal-scoring point of view. Did it play out that way? I mean, with the penalties and so on, does it?
I think that's how it played, because both goals came from standard plays. They came from penalties. You could see how both nations were playing. They were very defensive. They both kept 4 clean sheets. So we knew it was going to be a game that won't produce too many goals, because they're also struggling to get a lot of goals. But it showed with 2 goals coming from penalties.
I think to add on that, I mean, at some point you saw, someone would think Nigeria, the Super Eagles, they should be afraid of, shouldn't be afraid of South Africa. But when you saw them dropping to 5 at the back, that's where you saw that, okay, it's definitely game on. It's pound for pound at this point. The pedigree, you throw it aside. You forget that it's a Nigeria. So I think that was the nice thing for me. Yes, both sides were defensive, but we were also quite offensive. Now, sticking with that, Mabena, I'll come back to you now. Quickly, Aubrey, I mean, we've seen Percy Tau, right? He's been a player that's been criticized a lot in this tournament. A lot of people saying, no, Percy is a bit selfish. In this game against Nigeria, I liked, how Coach Hugo changed it up, where he wasn't now playing as, the second right back. I was like, okay, cool. He's more offensive now. He's now getting the passes into that. What have you made of Percy in this tournament?
I think he showed a lot of confidence in to come back from missing a penalty and the nation losing, and then to come back in the following game, get a penalty and take it. It shows a player that wants to rectify the mistake, and he's not afraid. He didn't shy off and say someone must take it. So I give him credit for that, to bounce back. And as much as he got a lot of criticism, but you see every time he's a player that doesn't shy off. He keeps trying and trying and trying. So I give him credit for that.
Mabena, a quick one.
On those positions that you play in, where it's frontline positions, the attacking positions. If you look at the stats, unfortunately not everyone is privy to these stats, but the first time I got to see them is at the World Cup, where I was paying attention to Kaka, Messi, and all of the creative players in those positions that they play in Double Percy. They lose the ball the most because they do the most in trying to make things happen. They're the guys that are taking the risks. So it's easy to say, he's lost the ball, he's selfish. But he's the guy that has to make something happen. When he beats the man, we say, great play. But you're not going to beat the man all the time. And on any given day, on any given game, when you look at the stats, best passes, best who lost the ball the most, the frontline players are the ones who lose the ball the most. The deep line, Motebo Mogwena, will have the highest passing rates and so on, and your 2 central defenders, they'll have the highest. Because when they pass, there's no pressure. They're starting it from the back. The guys that lose it the most, Double Percy, it's so easy to criticize them until you sit and you look at the numbers. Now, I'm not saying Double Percy. Look at Kaka, look at Messi, look at those guys. And you realize, no, because of the positions they play, they must take risks. So that's my answer for Percy Tau, or anyone in that position that struggles at that level.
All right, so let's talk about the system. I mean, we've seen the system change, right, Aubrey, from the first game against Mali to the very last game, that being against Nigeria. Yes, there's still the third place playoff, but I guess the critical games where we've seen Coach Hugo trying different things, then yes, he stuck it out with then, the majority of the Sundowns players proving to be the system that works. Then in this game against Nigeria, we see Thapelo Morena then being dropped, where now we think, okay, that kind of compromises us because we know what Thapelo Morena will bring in terms of the speed. And yes, I think we missed that a little bit in that Nigeria game. But which system now, when you look into all of these encounters, has worked for Bafana Bafana, and perhaps the working system and how then South Africa should play?
I think going into Nigeria, you could see Coach was worried a bit with their wing backs because they play 3-4-3. So he was worried that our centre backs are going to be occupied, and then our full backs also have to deal with their wide players. So he went with full wing back to wing back, where he played Aubrey Ngoma as a wing back on the left and Mudau as a wing back on the right. So I think that matched them a bit. We silenced their wing backs for the longer period of the game. You know, they didn't create as many chances because I think what we lacked, like you said, it was the speed in turnovers. I think in the first half we had moments where we turned the ball over, but we never had the kind of speed of Thapelo Morena, where you would run behind Thapelo Maseko. People will run behind, you know, we don't expect that from Makgopa. He's the type of player to hold the ball for us. And, you know, there's not a lot of speed in Mshishi as well, who are the players we're playing in front. Of course, maybe Pacey's got the speed, but it wasn't enough in turnovers. So I think our best formation would be the one we played, you know, leading to the Nigeria game, where we played 4-2-3-1.
Also, with Morena there, he's actually such a good defender. He can play both sides of the game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where you need his speed going forward, yes. There, when you need it going back, he works hard defensively as well. So with the Morena, if you are to criticize, I don't like to criticize coaches, they know better. But if you are to criticize, the Morena omission for me was big. I thought he made a big difference when he came on, in the games that he came on.
Yeah,
you know?
I think also maybe he was going to put him on as a sub yesterday, especially maybe in extra time when he saw Nigeria sitting back, maybe, you know, his speed to just run in behind, because I think that's what we lacked a bit. But overall, I think the boys did very well.
They definitely did. So now, Mabin, I want to talk about those subs, because I think they proved, especially when you look into Nigeria, to be quite pivotal. We're talking about this, Aubrey, that when you look into the Nigeria subs, a lot of them ended up taking the penalties.
That's what I was going to say. They thought about it.
They thought about it, right? Whereas on our side, a completely different story. I mean, we saw Uzakele Lepasa go on, and then he was taken off again. Talk to us your thoughts about those subs that we made.
I don't know if it was of the penalty miss for Lepasa to come on and then maybe not wanting to take a penalty again. It was baffling a bit. But then I thought to myself, you know, there's also the issues we do have. You'd like for Uzwane to be there throughout the game, take the penalties at the end. He just doesn't have it in him anymore. When it comes to penalties, it could go either way.
Yeah.
Some may say we were lucky the other day in the quarterfinal. But Ronwen was outstanding. You see, for me, there's a difference. If the goalkeeper saves, the striker doesn't miss. The goalkeeper won the duel, so the goalkeeper saved it. So when we say he missed it, if the keeper saved it, it's wrong, in my opinion. But if the keeper saves it, that means he's just won the duel. He's just the better man in that particular duel. And that's that. It's a moment. Are you going to miss it? Is he going to save it? Are you going to score it? Three things are going to happen. And you could score 100 in practice. And get to the day and miss, or it's saved.
For sure.
You know what I mean? You know this.
Definitely.
It's a difficult one to call. When it comes to penalties, it's so difficult to call or criticize in my book.
And I'm glad we've got a footballer here in Aubrey Ngoma, because you know how you guys, go at training sessions, how we know who's the best penalty taker. We know, our top 5, that these are our top 5 penalty takers. We are going with them. Now, talk to us about our penalty taking skills, because not just against Nigeria, against, of course, as well, who did we play? Cape Verde. Yes, Ronwen saved us, but also look into how we actually took those penalties.
Like Sisu just said now, it's different taking a penalty at training where there's no one to see but the players. There's no pressure, and you get to a stadium where, people in the stadium are watching, plus a billion people on TV. So it's a different ball game altogether. And I feel going into penalties, you want your goalkeeper to make at least a save, but that requires the penalty takers to score. Like Sizo has said, we were fortunate that Ronan saved a lot of penalties. I just feel, even against Cape Verde, we missed too many penalties. To miss 2 in a shootout, 9 out of 10 times you won't make it because the other team might score 4. So you just need your keeper to make 1 save and have the trust and the belief that your takers are gonna score. And we didn't score. We missed 2 yesterday, which you saw what it resulted into. They scored 4 out of their 5.
What goes on in a player's mind, Aubrey? Indulge me a little bit here, because I look at, you know, how those penalties were taken, right? And I know, because we all watch the DStv Premiership, we know who takes penalties in their respective clubs. We know who is good at it, right? And when I look into the 5 that took it against Nigeria, I'm like, okay, the Lord Mvala did the Lord's work here, because he took the most clinical, convincing penalty, whereas everyone else, I'm like, I don't know. And it's no criticism, it's not because I hate them or anything, but it just didn't make sense to me. I mean, we've seen Sibisi. Sibisi takes great penalties for Orlando Pirates. Why was he not part of the starting 5?
When we go to penalties, I just feel players have to pick themselves.
Thank you.
And if you look at, if you listen to the audio when the camera gets closer to when the coaches are selecting, you know, the order in which penalties are going to be taken, they ask who's taking the 4th penalty.
Sure.
Then you as a player, you have to say, okay, I'll take the 4th one. You don't want to be chosen and then you go miss there. So when you choose, you know, you're confident enough that you're going to score. But obviously, you know, on another day, they score. But unfortunately, yesterday they missed. So it shows to me that the guys that went on to take, they were confident to take penalties. The other ones weren't so confident. That's why they didn't take penalties.
Just to follow up on that, and maybe you can give us some clarity. But firstly, Mvala is a goal scorer. Let's not forget, from his days at the Highlands Park, he was scoring. You know, he was like the top goal scorer when they first came up to the league. So we forget that about him because now he's a central defender. But he's a scorer. You know, I've always rated him as a goal scorer. But now when it comes to penalties, let's say you've taken and scored your last 5 in competitive matches. Are there days when you feel like, not today? Even though you've got that confidence and we've got that confidence in you.
Yes.
But on that day, you're like, coach, just not today. Today is not my day.
I don't feel confident enough because the stage you're in, you've seen the keeper make saves during the game, and maybe also you never had a good game, or even when you've had a good game, you just feel like, I don't think I'm ready to take a penalty today. And I don't think it's bad that, you know, you don't feel like taking penalties on a particular day, because penalties lottery, honestly. You can put it wherever you want. Some days goalkeepers fetch it. Like yesterday, we saw Tebza score in open play, same spot. But when it went to shootout, same spot, the keeper made a save.
Yeah. You're smiling, eh?
No, I feel for Tebza. Because now, you know how fans are sometimes.
Yes.
I just hope for Kyle Z, who's probably been our best player at the tournament.
Yes.
Could very well be been our best player. I just hope people don't now put a minus next to his name and say, but okay, change the penalty. You know what I mean? It's like, the guy's been great. The penalties are penalties, man.
Yeah,
you know?
no.
I think we need to give him credit for having the guts to take the penalty, because that's the penalty that takes us to extra time. And I don't think there were a lot of players that would, because you know you miss, we lose, exactly. So give him credit for stepping up to take the pressure penalty.
All right, Mabena, where to from here for South Africa and looking into Coach Hugo? Because, yes, they are the World Cup qualifiers, right? And we play Nigeria again this year. We'll play Zimbabwe again. So what do we do? What's the way forward for us?
Nigeria owe us. Zimbabwe owe us.
I
say Zimbabwe owe us just because it's Zimbabwe. We do so much for their league, for their football.
For their players,
and they give us good footballers. They make our league very interesting. But because of that, Jay, you must always put them in their place. You know, that's how I feel. You know, this is South Africa. You know, guys, we're the bigger brothers here. You know? So Nigeria, they've always owed us. They disrespected us in the 90s, calling us 4x4s. Now they've beaten us now. So, you know, a way forward, you ask. Firstly, there's the DRC game. We have to get through that. We have to, in my opinion, beat DRC. Again, I see a bit of a rivalry there because of what TP Mazembe and our sides, and then the history of the Champions League when we've come up against them. So we've beaten them, I think, 4 times. They've beaten us once internationally. Twice we've beaten them at Afcon. So I'm confident going into that game. It's important to win to get the bronze medal. As a losing at 4th place, no one's really going to mention you. You get that bronze medal, in history and time, we'll mention, South Africa got bronze there. I think it's important for us as a country just to get back into the medals, which is something we're not even doing at COSAFA level of late. You know? So yeah, at Afcon level, get back to the medals. But now, the great news is Hugo Broos may want to continue. And with the World Cup qualifiers so close, including Nigeria, you want someone who knows these current state of players that we have, someone who knows Nigeria, having played them, and also who's taken us to this level and can take us higher. So we need Hugo Broos to continue. And we need this generation to push on.
All right, we'll get Aubrey Ngoma's thoughts in a bit. Let's find out more, of course, what Coach Hugo Broos has to say in the desire to continue.
It's a big disappointment for everyone because we feel that we played a very good game, and not only today, that we played a very good Afcon. And I'm very, very proud of it. I'm proud of my players. The disappointment is this, but the proudness is that. What they did, what they performed, not only today, I think you have to be proud as a coach. It was only when you talk about my age and then I think it's normal that you think about, maybe it's time that I'm going to stop. But I never said that I'm going to stop, or that I stop. So again, I'm very happy in my job, as I said a few days ago. The guys give me a lot of satisfaction, a lot. I'm proud as a coach to be a coach of that team. So the rest, the future will tell us.
Well, it's great to hear that Coach Hugo wants to continue with Bafana Bafana. Aubrey, your thoughts on that? I mean, when the man got to South Africa, a lot of people were like, no, we got another plumber. This is not it. This is not what we want. He told us our business. He was like, nope, this is not the standard. The amount of noise that you guys are making, it doesn't deserve it. But here is a man now who's taken us, of course, to the semi-final, and he also has desire to continue with this group. What do you make of those sentiments? And, of course, then now the progression for Bafana Bafana.
I think it's good that he's continuing with the job. You know, the problem with us Africans, we are very impatient. You know? The coach comes in, we expect changes immediately, and you see now we've given him enough time. Now we can see the progress. You know, he's taken us to the semi-final for the first time in 24 years.
Yeah.
So it's good that he knows the current squad of players, and I think he already knows even the other players that could fill in when the other ones go out. He already has a pool of players to choose from. He already knows the structure. So it's good that he continues, because also we've got World Cup qualifiers coming up. So we need to be playing a team that's stable, because we want to go to the World Cup. Yeah. And Hugo knows all the players right now. I think it's good for him to continue.
Hugo knows all the issues in South Africa as well.
Yes.
Because every time you get a new coach, he must first understand the culture and the problems in South African
Then
football.
he might not get into the stadium,
you know,
possibilities.
Hugo knows already.
Yeah.
He's already been through all the trouble. So he's perfect for the job right now, as someone who's just carrying on, you know?
Yeah.
And I like that he speaks his mind.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I love that.
In regards to what the PSL needs to do, what the teams need to do, you know, to improve the level of international football for Bafana.
Yeah.
He speaks his mind, and whether we like it or not, you know, sometimes he speaks facts. You know, it's stuff that we have to hear. But, you know, as South Africans, we like to shy from the truth.
You know what I find funny?
What?
How the people in football, when Hugo says, criticizes, we know the issues.
Yes.
We know, like, we sit at home alone and...
Like, he's right.
Finally, someone said something I couldn't say. You know?
Yeah.
So we all know.
That's
But then, in the same instance, not too many people go out and back him. So let's say he says something and we're all shocked.
Yeah.
Not too many, not myself included, not too many of us have come out and said, no, but Hugo was right last week when he said. And that's the only thing where I think, you know, sometimes back the man. I think it's time we backed Hugo. He's done such a great job for us.
Yeah.
Let's back the man and allow him to speak his mind. Because up to this point, there's not too much he said that's where we like, no, he's crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah, true.
You know?
True. So, Aubrey, I mean, midfielder yourself, I mean, you've won the midfielder of the season in terms of the PSL. We look at Mshishi, where we've heard even Coach Peter Musamane saying that when Shika dances, that whole team is dancing. I mean, he's getting to a matured age, yeah? Well, yeah.
He's there.
Like, I don't want to say he is. Like, you know how footballers are saying, guys, don't make us retire. Yeah? We'll retire when we want to. But a mature age where now, I mean, we already see at Mamelodi Sundowns, they manage his game time, where even at Bafana Bafana, he doesn't play the full 90. So now, what does then that do for Bafana Bafana? How does that squad look like? Who's going to make that squad dance the way Shika makes it dance?
I think we've seen now Hugo Broos included a lot of the young players. I think his thinking would be, you know, to look at the players that could step in when Shishi finally decides to stop dancing, because, you know, obviously age catches up with all of us.
Yeah.
And what is done now to include these young boys in a tournament like this, it would have given them experience, even though they might not have played. But, you know, that to be at that stage, to experience that type of football where you're sitting on the bench and you're watching, you learn from all of those small aspects. And hopefully, you know, in the near future, we could have another Mshishi, but I think he could still play. He can still play. If he can play close to 90 minutes, you know, where he has to deliver at the highest level, playing every 3-4 days, I think he can still carry on for 2-3 more years.
Also, a player like Mshishi is not someone you just replace. As in, I'm not saying there aren't players in that position, no.
Yeah.
I'm saying a player that's special. It's not someone you can easily replace. You can find someone who can play in that position, but not someone
who can play as Mshishi.
As Mshishi, no. The nice thing here is the point you've just made. We've just gone through an Afcon where he's played, what, 6 matches so far?
Yes.
6 matches. He's played in every one of those 6 matches. He started in every one. Which means we can still use him going forward.
Yeah.
Into the World Cup qualifiers. Maybe if we qualify for the World Cup, fingers crossed, we don't know. But at least for the foreseeable future, Mshishi is still a part of the setup, and that's the important thing for now.
For now,
Yeah.
all right. I want to find out your thoughts. Apollos, Adams, your thoughts on them. I mean, I know, yes, we don't want to rush the youngsters and give them praise, but then looking at their club level, what have you seen? Do you think, because there's been hype, you know, with these players, do you think that there's really something in these two players?
I think there is. For them to make the 23-man squad that went to the Afcon, it shows that even Hugo Broos saw potential in them. And, you know, I think it's up to them now to step it up and, you know, have bigger ambitions. Because if they could be taken to the Afcon, it means they've got the potential, they've got the talent. You know, it all goes down to how much they want to make it and be the national team players.
All right, Afcon. I think we're done with Bafana Bafana. We're hoping, of course, for the 3rd place that we'll get it, fingers crossed. And we go to the airport, we welcome them all back and give them that, you know, warm celebration. I think they deserve it. They've made us so proud. But now when we look into Afcon, the overall tournament, yes, we don't know who the winner is, but do we?
I think we all know who we're supporting. I think we all know who wants to win.
Oh, you guys are clearly Cote d'Ivoire.
In this case.
What?
You're Cote d'Ivoire.
What about Cote d'Ivoire?
You guys are back in Cote d'Ivoire on this one.
I think I have to, because, I mean, the Nigerians are very loud. They were loud before they beat us. Can you imagine how loud they are now? So I wouldn't want to support people that are going to be annoying me after they win the Afcon. So, you know, the Cote d'Ivoire will win it. They'll celebrate quietly. The continent will be at peace.
Yeah.
All right, so no Afro beats, ne? No Afro beats.
Nah, not for a minute.
You guys
for
are
a week or
done.
two,
Afro beats, we'll see them
in winter.
Yeah.
In winter. You let us know
But
about that
you're
one.
asking about the Afcon, though.
Yes, I mean, we've seen upsets, right? And I want to find out from you guys, when you look into the big 5, your Moroccos, your Egypt, your Senegals, where to then from there? Because, I mean, we've seen the big names saying, okay, they'll show up, but they didn't. And I mean, Algeria struggling the previous tournament. So now what happens for these nations? Where do they build from and what are they working on?
For me, the beauty of African football, it always proves itself over time. I always say this is the hardest continent to qualify for a World Cup for. In that there are so many genuine footballing nations, right? So when you say Big 5, it's only Big 5 now. 5 years from now, it'll be a different Big 5.
Yeah.
It'll be Ghana, it'll be South Africa, it'll be maybe DR Congo, it'll be Mali, and one other one, maybe Algeria or Tunisia. That Big 5 changes so often in the continent because there's so many true footballing countries. You can count maybe 15, maybe 20 that when you look at them, you're like, no, these people are about football.
Yeah.
And now the problem is Cape Verde have just added on to that mix. Mozambique are coming back. They're adding on to that mix.
Yeah.
Namibia is now adding on to that mix.
Angola is coming
coming
Yes,
back.
you're right.
So the number of serious footballing nations just gets bigger. Whereas in Europe, England plays against 4 countries we don't know,
Yeah.
we've never heard of until they play them. To qualify, it's an easy road. Same thing goes for Italy, Germany. There's very few upsets in Europe. Whereas now look at the 2010 World Cup. Ghana made it. South Africa was there. Who else was there?
In there?
In the 2010 FIFA World Cup when we hosted it.
It was Ghana,
South Africa. Cote d'Ivoire actually was there with Boya two of them. But the point I'm trying to make is, out of those nations, how many made the World Cup now in Qatar? Hardly any of those nations there. And then when you look in between Russia, who made the World Cup and who didn't, so it's always a different group
nation, yes.
from Africa. So yeah, Big Five, who knows?
Anything
who
is
knows what it will be in
I think
2
you're the
years'
Big
time.
Five when you ranked high, but it changes every single time. Like
For
Sizwe is
sure,
saying,
for
you're the
sure.
Big Five now,
Yeah.
but we don't know the next tournament is next year. We don't know who's going to be the Big Five there because I'm sure after this tournament, the FIFA rankings are going to change.
Yep.
Yeah.
The same Big Five might find themselves at the bottom.
For sure.
So with Africa, it changes every time. It changes.
I want to stay with that with you, Obs, because when you look into South Africa, I think 98% of our players based locally, yeah?
Yes.
And then now when you look into Nigeria, they had all the stars that come from overseas. Cote d'Ivoire, for the longest time, criticized that they have all the stars, but then nothing comes out of the stars. Now, when you look into the African game, I mean, now we've got the Super League. What do we call it? Is it the African Football League?
Football League, yeah. You fall into my trap. of calling it the
Super League.
Yeah, sorry.
Now, when you look into all of that and the progression for Africa and the competitiveness, do you think that we are at the right direction? And also, are we then saying that you don't have to go overseas to be competitive?
I believe that, but of course, going overseas, of course, financially it's a gain because we know the level of, finances in terms of European football and African football. But Afcon just proven that it's just about the desire. Whether you're playing in Europe, you're playing local in Africa, it's just about the desire because we've seen our national team, they've knocked a Moroccan team that has teams that play. We watch them every weekend at top teams in Europe. But our local boys showed them that, we can also match your standard. We can even go beyond. So it's just a matter of desire, I believe. If the team shows more desire, I guess the talent prevails.
From a player's perspective, I mean, we always talk about this, Sizwe Mabena, that we expect players to just gel in and just suddenly click, yeah? Where we've seen a Mo Salah in this Afcon being criticized, saying, but the Mo Salah that we see at Liverpool, it's like, this is not the same guy. Different guy.
It's sport, yeah?
Different.
Talk to us about that and elaborate a little bit as to, Obs, what then makes a team to gel, to tick, and how long, essentially, does it take? Because you can have all the stars and have no team.
Because club level, they spend a lot of time together. The tactics are different. They play in different environments. They play in different temperatures. And they get to now their national team where you meet 2 days before you have to play on the third day. There's not a lot of training and preparation that's put in. So you have to understand the type of players because in club level, they spend a lot of time with these guys. They understand. You don't even have to be speaking. Some things are just, telepathic, where I know if he moves there, I need to go there. But in international level, it's a different story. We don't get a lot of time to prepare. So you don't know some of the players sometimes. Some of these big names, sometimes they get to the national team, they ask themselves, now, who's this one? Because he's playing at the lower league somewhere. So it's a different setup altogether.
All right, so we know a lot of eyes have been on this Afcon. On the flip side, I want to find out from you guys, who do you anticipate to make some moves after the world stage, of course, being shown and the Afcon being shown by the world, everybody watching, right? So potential moves, I've seen a lot of people saying that, no, this guy won't be playing the second division anymore. This guy is clearly moving. So think about that. While you guys are thinking about it, we'll cross over to MAHLATSE MPHAHLELE, who decided to go to Cote d'Ivoire. He said he was fetching that Afcon trophy.
He meant the bronze medal.
He meant the bronze medal, clearly. That's what he comes back with. Let's find out what he has to say.
Hi and welcome to the Stadium of Peace here in Buake. I'm joined by Lorenz, the senior sports reporter at IDiski Times, and the sports editor at Far Post, Mthokozisi Dube. Guys, we don't have enough time. I'll start with you, Lorenz. A reflection on Bafana Bafana's tournament up to so far?
I think it's beyond expectations. I remember the first day, a Nigerian journalist, ironically, came to me and he asked, where do you think Bafana will end? I said, we're good enough for the last 16. Quarter-final would be a great achievement for this crop of players, hard-working players. And that was just on the basis of having 20 PSL players and seeing. We weren't expecting Algeria, Egypt, Senegal, all these guys to fall out like flies. So yeah, I thought quarter-final would have been a good achievement. Semi-final it's clap hands and enjoy the moment.
I take you more than happy. Mtho, your reflection of the team?
Yeah, look, I think they've done exceptionally well. Obviously, bouncing back from that Mali defeat emphatically, scoring 4 goals in one game. I don't think we've seen that in quite a long time. Holding Tunisia, very well played game. Not a very good game, but they played to go through to the next stage. But for me, it was the way they beat Morocco, man. I mean, that was incredible. And then obviously Ronan Williams standing out in that game against Cape Verde with those penalty saves, and then against Nigeria, coming in here against world-class players like your Victor Osimhen's, but seeing these players hold their own against them, I think it was incredible. I spoke to Trusty Kong and Ian Nacho, and they said, look, this team is something else. You guys must build on this.
Let me continue with you. We are not out of the tournament as yet. We still a serious matter of the 3rd and 4th against DR Congo, another team that against all odds made it to this far. Do you think it will be difficult for the coach to motivate these guys to play this 3rd and 4th? Because 3rd and 4th has always had its own challenges over the years.
Look, I don't think it will be difficult. I mean, looking at the mentality that we've witnessed here, I mean, you can see even after losing yesterday to Nigeria, they wanted it so bad, and I think the mentality is right. They will go out there and try and play to win this game and at least finish third, because look, there's still World Cup qualifiers coming. There's Afcon next year, so the work continues. They need to still build on that momentum and also build confidence back home, because I can see this tournament has done something to people back home. So winning this game would obviously go a long way in establishing that confidence.
Lorenz, do you think the players will be motivated to play in this 3rd and 4th? I think there's at least something to win there.
Yeah, I agree with him in terms of positivity and momentum. Winning this game is important. And for many of these players, there's some older players in there. To have a bronze medal at the Afcon would be special for them. But I do think maybe Hugo would give some younger players an opportunity. Maybe Jaden will get a start. So it'll be interesting to see what the future of maybe Bafana will look like. And I just think, there's a very professional bunch of players. They want to win every game, and it's down to the mentality of the core group. We did hear off the record that Mamelodi Sundowns players did bring a very special, professionalism into this group. So I think that will continue. But I've just been very proud of how tactically disciplined they've been. We haven't seen a Bafana team in a while that's so efficient in possession and well drilled in defending set pieces as well. And I think that's one of the big take-homes of this tournament.
Last question in 2. Firstly, players you've impressed you, and Hugo Broos, should he stay, should he go?
Okay, firstly, Hugo Broos should stay. I think he should see out his contract. But in this process between now and the end of his contract, we need to have a plan. Like, what is the succession plan? We can't have Broos laying a foundation, which I think is essentially what his 5-year contract is supposed to be. We were at a very, very low, empty stadiums, not qualifying for Afcon, losing to Sudan. So I think we were starting over, because basically that was the message. He should stay, but we should have a plan beyond Broos. And then secondly, players who's impressed me, definitely Motobi Mvala and Grant Kekana. I was saying to the guys the other day, 2 years ago when Broos was appointed, if I told you Motobi Mvala and Grant Kekana would be our defensive pairing, we would have laughed. Yeah. Modiba and Modau also been top class. The whole defense has been very good. But Yaya Sitole, I was very critical of him after that Mali game. But I think this is a tournament where he's come of age. And he'll probably be a regular fixture in Bafana after this, and hopefully he gets a better move to a Premier League side after this tournament.
Mtho?
Yeah, look, for me, it's a no-brainer. Hugo Broos needs to stay, finish off what he started. But like he's saying, I think it's important to then build on this, start doing the right things, just to make sure that we, get things right. I mean, there's no shortcuts in football. Make sure that we bring in someone who will understudy him and be able to take over, when he finally leaves. And then in terms of players that have impressed me, Yaya Sithole for me has been phenomenal in midfield. Tebogo Mokoena, I think he's coming here and he's proven that he's a big player, man. I mean, he's faced your Amrabat and stood his own. Yesterday we saw him against Iwobi, he stood his own. So Tebogo has impressed me. Evidence Mahopa, I have a whole different perception of the boy. Too much potential, but obviously needs coaching and someone to polish him. Yeah.
All right. We're moving to Abidjan for the third and fourth. I had someone saying that at the very least, Tambazwane deserves a medal here.
Yeah.
So let's see how it goes here.
Yeah, definitely.
And someone said you're wearing the wrong shirt, so next time come wearing the right shirt.
But
Thank you, guys.
just to add there, Evidence Mahopa is there's a player there.
Yeah.
There's a player, not just he's good in the air and whatever. Yesterday we saw a different facet of his game, and I really hope that we can bring in our European players as well, like your Lal Fosters, your Motibas, and just elevate it to just a little higher level.
And Fakri Lucky.
Coach is probably not a fan, but maybe he changes his mind like Demba did.
Yeah.
And we get a medal for these guys, the older gents, your Monares, beautiful servants of PSL football. It's something they deserve.
Okay, we can talk all day. Thank you very much. The producer is complaining at the back. Thank you.
MAHLATSE MPHAHLELE, please, never, ever do that again. I think you should stay at home because things were going so well when MAHLATSE was staying at home and letting us do the work.
Yep, doing all the running around. At the watch-alongs. And the results were coming in.
They were. But he believed at the end. I think that's a nice thing about it. That he turned everybody to believers, that being Bafana Bafana. All right, so before we crossed over to MAHLATSE, I wanted to find out from you guys. I'll start with you, Aubrey. Who you then think could possibly, get that major move that they've been dreaming about, because the right people have been watching this tournament.
There's quite a lot of players that stood out for me, especially in our national team. But it's unfortunate that some of them, the years. So you never know if they could still make it. But, hopefully one or two from the Bafana squad, make a move.
Who's your one or two?
Tebza, because he's had, I think he's had a fantastic tournament. I think he's written his name in one of the Bafana legends after this Afcon tournament. I think he stepped up when needed. And, it's so unfortunate that you have players like Mvala and Grant, that has done so well.
Yeah.
But you never know. You never know.
Even Ronwin.
I was actually going to say that at this point, Manchester United, they're in the need for a goalkeeper.
Can you start with Chelsea, please? Please.
I'm better. Onana.
Anyway.
Please. You could do with Ronwin Williams. We get Ronwin Williams to Old Trafford. And he's also a United fan.
Man, we suffer together.
Yeah, you guys can start a support group together. But I think Ronwin Williams for me, I would also say, hey, go help out.
That's the sad part is the South African players.
Yeah, the age,
there's
right?
so many good South African players that you wonder how they haven't been spotted. Aubrey, Ngoma, for me, I've always rated him since his Celtic days. So, from a South African point of view, it's so sad that they're above 25.
Yeah, and we still call them youngsters here at home, né?
Nah, they haven't been youngsters. We weren't sure. I wasn't sure he was 27 until the other day when you and I spoke.
Yeah.
I was shocked he was 27.
Until yesterday, I thought he was 24.
24-ish, 25-ish,
Really?
Until yesterday, I found out he's 27. That's how quickly time has flown by.
No, also you guys are delayed here in South Africa. You guys refer to 25-year-olds as youngsters, whereas overseas, 19-year-olds are youngsters.
I like how she says it like she's not a South African, but anyway.
You South African.
You know what I mean?
I am too. But
the one player that stood out for me, I'll mention one. And he's just moved to Western, like you reminded me. But Kudus, from a bad Ghanaian team to look as good as you did.
Yeah.
Ghana were horrible for me. According to the standards they've set in the past. And I hope they can pick up their game around him, because this is a team sport. Doesn't matter how good you are. The team is not as good. You won't reach the heights you want to reach as an individual on the international stage. But what a player. What a player. And there's already been plenty of talk about him. West Ham could make a pretty penny. Or hold on to him. It's up to them. But I reckon make a pretty penny, and in a year or two, maybe let him go.
All right. So, Napoli man, Victor Osimhen, a lot of people have been saying, where are the goals? I think that has been his biggest criticism.
I've seen the work rate.
I want to get to that. As to, yes, no goals, but he's been helping the team. And he's been playing a different role. What does that say about him as well? Does his rate also now go a bit higher?
I think he set his standard high for himself. You know, the goals that he scored for Napoli last season when they won the Scudetto, and to now not scoring enough, but you can see the work rate. I think he's more of a team player. You know, he's not worried about himself scoring, but the team doing well, which is good to see from a player who just comes from a season where he was scoring freely to a season where he's hardly ever getting on the score sheet. So it's good that, you know, he still thinks about the team instead of himself.
You know, and also, we should mention this, and I don't think it gets mentioned enough. He's had problems in Italy. Big problems where the fans are almost turning against him, and it's turned racial from his own fans. You know, that affects you. And like you say, he's a star. This guy, to me, is a big star. To come down here and work as hard as, and by down here I mean the continent, and work as hard as he did for that Nigerian team, as selflessly as he did, where he's the only man sometimes over the halfway line chasing nothing, just to apply pressure. And for a guy with a name that big, who's done what he did last season, to still work that tirelessly, like you're still looking for your first big contract, I take my hat off to him. He's
and he just renewed the contract with Napoli. But I think also it's because Napoli is not doing so well as well, and you can see that maybe that form in the team transferred to the national team. That's why he's not doing well. I think if Napoli was doing well as they were last season and scoring, I think it'd come in this Nigerian team where they've got big names, where the Chikwueze's, Damela Lookman could provide for him. But you can see that, you know, he brought that form from Napoli now in the national team. But his work rate, it's always 100%, you guarantee it.
And also, let's not forget, top goal scorer in the qualifiers. He was, so he brought them here. And he still played his role. He scored just one, but he's played his role right through.
I want to stick with that, right? I mean, you mentioned how club level wasn't going too well, but then you come now to the national team. And it's quite interesting where for other players, like your Onanas, who we speak about, it was going terribly wrong, club level. You still come to the national team. It doesn't get any better. So then now for some of these players, how does it affect a player, Aubrey, from your national team where you're hoping things go well, but it doesn't go right? But then now you need to go back to club level and perform. And it's the same thing now, looking to Bafana Bafana. We're back to business. The DStv Premiership next week is starting. The mentality of the players, I mean, looking at their emotions, you could tell that they're sad. Yes, they're proud, but they didn't want to be knocked out. How do you then now, you know, jump back up? And also, how do we play our roles, I guess, as South Africans to make sure that they feel supported as well? Because there's been that big talk about Sundowns players. So now the reception, how is that going to be from as well the Pirates fans, Kaizer Chiefs fans?
I think the beauty of football is that, you know, you get a chance quicker to redeem yourself. Like now we lost yesterday, but we have a chance on Saturday to redeem ourselves. Going into this game, we're playing for third position. I'm sure they'd want to win it and say we leave the tournament in high spirits, and that transfers to them now coming back into their teams. You know, that's how the beauty of football is. You just lost, now you have a chance again. Can I win? And
we as South Africans have a role to play now.
We do a big role.
We've abandoned the national team for a long time. They play in front of empty stadiums. They're qualifying in front of empty stadiums. This group, this generation has just said, look, we've qualified. Not only did we qualify, we got to the semi-finals. We now must, as football fans, pay back. Start showing up for Bafana Bafana games. Start showing up even for PSL games. Just start showing up. We need to play our part as fans and stop just sitting there pointing fingers and complaining all the time.
And I think also it's good that, you know, we went through to the semi-final in the tournament playing good football, not just, you know, going there and scraping for results. We were playing good football. A lot of the teams that played against us, there were moments where they were sitting back and you could see we had moments where we just passed the ball with fluidity.
Yeah.
So it's good that, you know, the Bafana team now brought some belief. So like Sis was saying now, the fans should go back to the stadium and support the national team.
I fully agree, because I was listening to the players in the presses, you know, before they surprised everybody out of the group stage, saying that during the qualifiers, nobody was saying anything. Everybody was quiet. No one was talking about Bafana Bafana. They get into the tournament. Everybody's hush-hush, like, these boys are not going anywhere. They're going to come back home. We'll welcome them back. They're not making it out of the group stage. And now the tune is different. And I guess, yes, they've shut us up. And a lot of people are getting to eat humble pie now, which is all great. And I love that. But then when we look into, Mabena, we'll stick with you. I mean, when we look into Coach Rulani Mukwena, where a lot of people are saying, yeah, we need to give praise to Coach Rulani. Do we say that, or now every other coach in the PSL needs to step up? Because as much as, yes, the Sundowns players have done well, but we also need the Stellies to continue for this competitiveness.
We need Sundowns to keep playing at that level, where we don't have players overseas, yes, but they're playing at such a high level on the continent that we've seen the difference it makes to a national team.
Yeah.
It got to the semi-finals. So we need that, but not only Sundowns. We need Chiefs, we need Supersport, Pirates, all the teams who not only partake in the Champions League, but the Confederations Cup as well. The better you do there, and I say this, I've been saying this for years, when you choose your national team, choose the players that are used to playing on the continent at club level and doing well there. If you do that, you'll do well with a nation that doesn't have too many players playing overseas. So we need other teams as well to start competing and getting as high as possible. Confederations Cup, Champions League, and South Africa will benefit.
They definitely will. Obs, to round it up, who has been your, I want to find out from you, your player of the tournament?
Oh, player of the tournament.
I mean, you're already saying Cote d'Ivoire is winning it, so I'm sure you have an idea.
I like a player there in Cote d'Ivoire, though.
Who?
Fofana.
Fofana.
Yeah,
Seko Fofana. He's a midfield workhorse.
And he wants it, eh?
Yeah,
he wants it. He doesn't shy away. He doesn't hide.
Just said that he went to Saudi now, you know. I think he could still be playing one of the big teams in Europe.
Okay.
Sad on one front, but it's okay if he's making the money, right?
Who does that we like? Neymar.
Neymar's up to the money.
Neymar's at the back.
Neymar's looking after his bag.
Yeah, no, and it's okay. At some point, we are part of that. But Obs, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate this. I guess we'll bring you back when we now talk about officially of Fofana then being the player of the tournament.
Hopefully, yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Hopefully, yeah. All right, on that note, you let us know as well, your player of the tournament, who is it? But big thing happening, of course, continues here in the African continent, where we've seen Cut Republic launch their flagship store. We're there as well, Corps. Let's take a look what happened. Bugsy Komano joins me now, a data analyst, but will always be, of course, a racer at heart. Bugsy, talk to us about your thoughts. Cut Republic, first time in Africa, first time in South Africa. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty fantastic that we are branching out to Cut Republic Africa. It's very important that we also collaborate with what's happening overseas. And from what I'm seeing is that we are actually the leading chassis globally. From the stats and the facts that I've seen, we are #1 in terms of the chassis being used for international and national races. And we are actually winning. So it's very good that we're taking something that wins. And who always wants to be a winner? Everyone wants to be a winner.
No, look, when I started, we didn't have this many, I think, chassis brands in karting. So having a variety of brands will definitely make the racing more interesting and more competitive, because everyone's trying to beat everyone. And I think the level has definitely improved slightly. It always has its ups and downs as the economy goes, but yeah, I think this is going to be very competitive.
A good team backing you is more important than anything. I mean, you can come with the talent, you can come with the right setup, but that's a team. But if you don't have a good team backing you, anything can go wrong. I mean, you can go from being first to last in a matter of seconds if you don't have the right team backing you. And my experience, especially with Cut Republic, having Tubbs behind me, I mean, there's not much that can go wrong, but especially in this sport, something always goes wrong. But having that good team that backs you there's nothing better, you know? No, listen, I think they're very good chassis. I personally like them a lot. I know you think I would say that, but I'm a driver that loves a softer chassis. So turn, get into the corner quickly, release less quickly, but that initial getting into the corner, for me, that's all that matters. So I prefer a much softer chassis than like what we offer. But yeah, can't say anything wrong about them.
So what I would say is that it's very fantastic that we are now introducing a digital transformation within the racing industry, motorsport industry itself. And it's very important that we keep up with the global world of where they're becoming digital, more AI and all those type of things being brought together. It is very easy to pick up what the chassis is doing latitudinal-wise, which is under turning, what it's doing under braking and accelerating, which is what we call longitudinal, and also what the engine is doing with the RPM, the water, everything like that. And then also on top of that, the driver itself. It is much easier for me to also analyze within our app that we also use, which is Race Studio, which is very sometimes complex, but since I somewhat understand it, I can translate it to everyone and make it easier for us to understand what's going on.
...2024 F1 season, what are your expectations?
Expectations? I'm not too sure. I mean, I look forward to a good race. I think obviously Max is at his peak of his performance. I'd like to see Lando perform. Also Lewis, you know, it's always, for me, it's always good to watch a good race. I don't really support one driver, but it's not really nice when you have one driver dominating the whole time. So yeah, I don't know. I think Lando will definitely be a force this year, maybe even Piastri. But I'm definitely rooting for the young guns because it's always entertaining to see that, and it's also motivating for the young drivers to see the other young drivers in Formula One show up to all the experts like Lewis and Alonso and stuff. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I think Red Bull will still be competitive, and I would probably say Red Bull is going to be the force to beat, obviously, but I'm not too sure he's going to have the championship this year.
All right, only time will tell. Keegan Masters, thank you. We'll catch up again soon.
Thank you.
Absolutely great to see, of course, that motorsport in South Africa, in the continent, is progressing. And, of course, having a brand like Kart Republic, it's absolutely impeccable, Mabena.
What does this mean? Because I know you love your motorsport way more than I do, so you can educate us here. What does this mean for the development of motorsport in South Africa, this move now?
So here's the cool thing, right? And I love how you asked me this because now this is like my element. Yeah. Okay. So Kart Republic is one of the oldest chassis. So our chassis is basically, you know what a chassis is, the makeup of the cart, right? So it's winning overseas. Ayrton Senna, I don't know if you guys know Ayrton Senna.
I know Ayrton Senna.
Okay, amazing. So Ayrton Senna, one of the greatest Formula 1 drivers that we've seen, competitive. So he's actually raced with the DAP. A DAP, it's one of the karts that is produced by Kart Republic. Fernando Alonso as well has a kart with Kart Republic called the FA. So basically what that means is that you've got greats who have driven these cars, who have competed in those cars. Fernando Alonso, still being alive, has a say in what happens, of course, in the cars that they've been produced for him and under his name. So now what this means for the young ones, for South Africa, for Africa, is that now you get to compete. Because when you look into the overseas market, a lot of the cars that are winning, it's Kart Republic. So everybody wants to be part of the winning cars. Like you all want to be part of a winning team. So the winning team in motorsport, in terms of karting, it's Kart Republic because they're ridiculously fast. And I know maybe you've done indoor karting, but that kind of speed gives you an idea. It's not completely the same. It's a bit slower. The actual karts are faster. So this, more than anything for me, I think it's going to try to level the field of play. Well, field of play, look at that football. But anyway, it's going to try to level things out so that we are able to compete. Because for the longest time, our South African drivers have had to leave South Africa to be able to get a seat overseas. So then now when you already are used to driving the best cars that are already being used overseas. That kind of helps you. I mean, I remember Coach Siadramovic, where he was saying, this thing of trying to play from the back, you guys are starting it late. Try and start it from a younger age. So I think that's the thing about karting. You need to start with them while they're 5 years old. Lewis Hamilton, we've seen, started when he was 5. So that's the thing about karting. The younger you start the drivers, and when you start them up with the best equipment, that then sets them up, of course, for great progression.
As in any sport. Nice breakdown, by the way.
Oh, thank you. That was fun. Thank you for indulging me. That was my cute little moment of motorsports. But anyway, guys, sporting weekend, what are you guys looking forward to?
I was looking forward, I thought I was going to be looking forward to a under-19 Cricket World Cup final with South Africa in it, but we got knocked out by India earlier on this week. So currently, right now, as we speak, Australia is playing Pakistan. Pakistan set a total of 179. I think it will be in Australia, India final, which is still a good final by any cricketing standards. So it's like almost having Brazil and Argentina at a World Cup final in football. So yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to this weekend, cricket.
And I love how, you know, Obs, you also mentioning, and because I know he loves his cricket as well. But you know, from the under-19, the structure that we speak of in cricket, it's evident. I mean, we are excited about an under-19 World Cup. We've been following that, so it's great to see the progression that we see with rugby, with cricket. Let's hope that your sporting code will follow suit.
Football, yeah?
So that the progression continues. What are you looking forward to? Hopefully. What are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to, well, the Premier Soccer League returning. Yes. And of course also the Premier League now. I think it's shaping up nicely. We see the top 3. They're fighting. The points are not so big. So it's good that, you know, we don't know yet who's going to win the Premier League, unlike the previous seasons. All
right. As a Manchester United fan, why do you still get excited?
I'm happy because I'm on top of Chelsea. That's all that matters.
Why?
Oh, wow.
Seriously, as a United fan?
Yeah, I mean...
It's like being in any relationship. There's ups and there's downs. And the truly loyal ones are the ones that stick with you when you're down.
Oh, listen, I'm going through my downs right now.
You know what I mean?
So at least you guys are used to it. Like for me, this is new territory, and it's not that great.
We'll speak to you in 5 years to see if you're still a friend. We're staying with our team. You know?
As new as it is to you, remember we still have more titles than you.
So. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I'm not gonna get the end of this. But nonetheless, gentlemen, always a pleasure. Thank you so much. We do it again. Have yourself a super duper weekend, yeah?
Yeah. Looking forward to it.
A great one too.
Super. That's it, of course, from us from the Arena Sports Show. Let us know what you're looking forward to. We'd love to hear from you on the comment section. From us, it's cheers, goodbye.